Somebody tell you to go buy your goats
In
for
the
breeding
market.
in the market at the butcher, that person might mean well,
Hmm.
but just understand they just don't really know what they're talking about.
That is
And
so
it's
true.
okay. That's why you here. That's why we here. Okay? Don't make that mistake.
Yeah.
Unless you buying strictly for meat.
For meat.
For those of you out there, my Muslim brothers out there, you know, Eid is upon us
Hmm.
and it's cool, right? You might want to just go get some of those goats because you want to start it to feed your family, but you do not want to start breeding
Yeah.
your goats with any flawed genetics.
Rise and shine, Value Farm family. Welcome back to another episode of The Farm. If you are new here, you are most welcome. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and also turn your notification bells not to miss out on any videos on the channel. And of course, to all our returning subscribers, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the family, and thank you so much for following and also sharing all the videos. And of course, to those who have been following us on social media, thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys. And if you haven't already, we have our social media platforms as well. That is Value Farm UG on Instagram and also Value Farm UG on Facebook, so that you don't miss out on any behind the scenes of the farm. What you don't see on the channel, you definitely find it on social media. Well, we are back at the farm and it's really very exciting to be back here. It's a bit, cold, but it's still fine. We are really so happy to be here because there's a lot that is really happening. And of course, we are here to share our journey with you on farming and everything that really happens at Value Farm. And of course, we are also here to also answer your questions, because most of you have been really asking so many questions in the comments, on our Facebook page, on our Instagram. And if people really feel like we don't really reply to you guys, but whenever we come here, we come to answer all the questions. Guys, I also have my co-director on standby, who is also going to say hello to you guys.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Grafton, co-director here at Value Farm. You know, it's the journey to get here is always an interesting one because especially now during the rainy season, the
I
roads are not
know.
exactly the best. But today, we still somehow we left the house later than usual, but somehow we got here earlier than we thought we were gonna get
That
here
is so
because the
true.
roads turned out to be better than expected. So we're here, and the topic at hand is actually a variety of things, right? So
Yeah.
typically, what we tend to do as a team, we actually do, again, we do go through your questions on our social media platform. And I wanted to send a special thanks to all of you out there who heeded my call to actually go out on Instagram,
True.
Value Farm UG, to follow because the numbers were looking very, very pathetic. And I'm still not 100% happy with where they are, but thank you very much for supporting us on that platform. And that's actually one of the quickest ways to actually get in touch with us because those questions, once we actually find it in the inbox,
Yeah.
it's very easy. Whether we're on the move, we're always on the move because we have to take care of the farm and our people here.
Yeah.
But you know, it's easy to really balance IG. So ultimately, just again, thank you for that. Appreciate the support, appreciate the love. And so at the farm today, we wanted to cover a few topics, a
Yeah.
few questions in particular.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of you want to know as you're getting into this program, how do you keep your animals from inbreeding? Because we always preach wherever you go, you need to work with people
Yeah,
who keep
true.
their records to make sure you're not buying bad genetic stock.
Yeah, true.
So that's part of what we actually take very seriously. We preach it, we practice it. And so today we're actually going to give you guys a slight glimpse behind the scene as far as how we attempt to do that
That is true.
and how we follow our program to make sure that our animals are not inbreeding.
It has been a question over and over again. Like now, for instance, for the goats, you guys really saw that we really got so many goats at the farm. Of course, we have the male, we have the females, and most of you have been really asking us, how do you guys prevent inbreeding? Because these goats go out grazing and all that. What you have to know is we have a system here. put in place. The male goats are put alone in their own sections, and also the females are put in their different sections. Of course, the lactating mothers are also put in their own sections. So when they go grazing, the females are also put separate. That's what you don't really get to see. You see them getting out, but we separate them as we go to graze. So that is how we really prevent. And of course, remember, we tag our animals, we tag our goats. So we have the records of which one has been bred with which goat, which male has bred with the female. Those records are really put in place. Whenever I want maybe a female goat to cross with the male, our boa or savannah, because we have the boas and we also have the savannahs here. So we keep the records. We take the female to the boa. We don't take the boa to the females. It's the female to go that side. And of course, we are also going to take you to the goat house so that you can see their different sections and how they are spread together.
True, very true. But again, guys, I want you to picture this, if you will, right? Imagine if you have a massive sale. You work so hard to accrue your stock, whether it's your goats or even your pigs or your sheep for that matter. And then you have somebody that might travel in 2, 3, 4 hours to get to your farm. D-Day comes, the day that you've been dreaming, the day you've been praying that the good Lord would bring you. You finally have buyers that are interested. And in your case, you have a commercial buyer. They're not interested in buying 20 goats from you or 40 goats from you. They want to get at least 100.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
the money you would literally have stashed away for at least a year of operation, to live your life, to be a Kampala corporate farmer at that point, right? Now imagine that person gets to your farm and they ask you, where are your records? And at that point, you scratching your head. Let me tell you, the reason I'm asking you guys this question. We actually went somewhere to purchase pigs because we needed to purchase a male pig that was unrelated to the stock of pigs that we have
We
here.
had here.
So we got to this great demonstration farm, impeccable local reputation.
Yeah.
We get to the farm. We actually travel from Kampala all the way out to
PG.
in PG. We got to that location and we found out, wait a minute, we're asking the people there that are supposed to be the experts on the ground, you know, which pig, what's the breed of this male pig here? And the attendant that was helping us, we literally knew that they didn't know what they were talking
No,
about.
no,
They were
no.
literally just guessing. So how old is that pig over here? Again, just grabbing the time from the air. And so I'm looking at my partner over here. She's looking at me, and I'm saying, "Oh my gosh, this is a demonstration farm, and this is where they come. This is where they charge you, a heavy premium because these people are supposed to be the expert."
Yes.
So the reason we do these videos is so that you can be prepared,
Yeah,
right?
true.
You want to keep your records because ultimately, when we got there, we realized like not only did these people didn't understand what they were talking about, the condition they were keeping the
It
animals
was
were really, really,
terrible.
really despicable. And at the end of the day, the staff that we ended up working with, you know, we try to make the best out of the worst situation. And the only saving grace from these people, the actual stock we ended up buying, right, were 2 young males that they just purchased
Yeah.
from a farm that we were familiar with. So we ended up going home with those 2 young male pigs. Now, the reason this is so important for you is they got lucky because we actually knew enough to be able to sift through the nonsense and still walk away with something that
With
was going to be
something.
useful for our company.
True.
But in your case, when you go out there, you might not be the expert yet. You just want to be able to show up, papers, please. Records, please.
Please.
And if these people don't have the records, if they start giving you stories, they start scratching their heads. And this one I know. But how do you know? That's the perfect answer. Well, we know. No. If they can't prove it, don't buy it.
Don't buy it.
Right? And so what we do here at the farm, as my partner mentioned earlier, we do have a male unit. We have multiple male units, right?
Yeah.
Where we keep the male pigs together, the young piglets when they're first weaned. We identify the males. We actually get them to the point where they could live comfortably in their quarters. And as they start to get older, and some will develop faster than others,
Others,
right?
yeah, true.
So then we start to, again, we separate,
Separate.
right? So the faster growers, they stay together. The ones that are a little slower to develop because they typically get bullied. So if you keep all the pigs in the same section, particularly whether they're male or female, there's always going to be a few going to be naturally stronger
Yeah, true.
than the rest. So the stronger versions, the stronger stock, they're always going to bully the younger
The
one. That's
young
just the
ones.
fact of
And
life.
even
So
they eat more.
survival of the fittest. So they will bully the weaker stock, right? So they'll get to eat more. So they'll keep getting bigger and bigger. And so ultimately, you now, as the farmer, need to understand, you can't keep them all together for the duration of their life cycle, right? So periodically, whether it's every other week or every 2 weeks, as you do your spot checks, you're supposed to be measuring, you're supposed to actually check to see if the growth rate is actually matching up with what you're feeding these animals.
That is true.
At that point, then you want to separate, and then you revisit it again and you keep separating. And that way, by the time they're ready to either A, go out to the market to fulfill their duties as meat stock or breeding stock, you know which breed and which male is from which mom,
Which one?
which father, right?
Yeah.
So you know the actual genetic makeup of that animal. That way you can confidently
That is true.
tell your buyers at your farm, like, hey, this particular young bull was actually sired by, Rex, and then the mom was like Samantha here, and so this is our second time she's actually
Farrowing.
farrowed, and so yeah, so that information come in handy. You always want to be a professional. Let me tell you something that I took from my time as a banker, and the best advice that I got from my supervisors at the time was my ultimate goal, or your ultimate goal as a farmer, is to become that trusted advisor. So when people come to your establishment, you need them to be able to trust you.
Yeah.
And the only way they're going to trust you is to practice what you preach
Yeah.
and to be able to do show and tell. So if you have your records, you understand what you're talking about, you understand your breed, you understand what's happening at your farm, then the rest will easily fall into place.
And guys, the beauty about also separating your animals and also tagging your animals and also keeping your records, the beauty is in case you're a farmer, you're a commercial farmer, and maybe you have separated some livestock for meat production, some for breeding production, it helps you to track down the genetics as well, because it's going to help you in case maybe let's take an example of a sow that has given you a litter of maybe 5 or maybe 6. That is really very, very little for you as a farmer. You expect maybe your pigs to give you, to farrow at least 15, at least 10 and above. That's what you should really expect. So for those ones, at least you know that even the piglets that they're getting are not going to be really of good genetics. So you separate them, and of course those ones you can easily sell them off. You don't keep them in your breeding stock, which is really so good. Same to the goats, of course. If you see that this one is not a good mother, doesn't have enough milk, you have to sell it off. You put it off for your meat production or your meat, you sell it off to the market. You don't keep it in your farm.
And that's also a very, very excellent point that was just recently made by my partner here. And this comes to the next one for you. And I know many of you out there actually make this mistake. Do not go to the market to buy your goats. Don't go to the market to buy your sheep. Because unless you are into just buying the castrated male goats, castrated lambs that you yourself want to fatten at your farm to sell and sell quickly, because think about it, as farmers here, you as farmers wherever you are, right? Are you gonna sell the one goat that's giving you 3 kids at a go?
No.
Or are you gonna sell the goat that produce enough milk to feed a small village?
No.
What you're gonna do, you're gonna select the worst moms. You're gonna select the goat or the goats with the worst genetic makeup.
That is
and
so
you're gonna
true.
like, okay, this one here has been eating for free. Let me tell you guys something. The other day, we actually had to call a pig. Culling is the practice of, you see which ones are performing, which ones are not performing. And he was a non-performer. So he lived here for about 6 months, and the rent was due. He was not meeting his expectation. So we looked at his overall weight, the way he was developing, the way he was converting the feed that we've been giving it.
It wasn't worth
And then
it.
we realized, like, hey, man, this one's just not going to make it. So ultimately, we ended up sacrificing it. And of course, we ended up partially fed the staff. We took some meat
Some.
home. We actually let some of our friends actually sample some of that meat as well. But that's what most of the stock you're gonna find in the market is meant for. It's meant to go to the butcher.
To the butcher.
The worst thing you can do is if somebody tell you go buy your goats
In
for
the
breeding
market.
in the market at the butcher, that person might mean well, but just understand they just don't really know what they're talking about.
That is
And
so
it's
true.
okay. That's why you here. That's why we here. Okay? Don't make that mistake.
Yeah.
Unless you buying strictly for meat.
For meat.
For those of you out there, my Muslim brothers out there, you know, Eid is upon us and it's cool, right? You might want to just go get some of those goats because you want to start it to feed your family, but you do not want to start breeding
Yeah.
your goats with any flawed genetics. Even when we went to one of the farms in Nakasongola, right? Nakasongola.
Nakasongola.
We saw a goat that looked spectacular. But then when we checked the teeth and we checked the actual overall body score, we realized, man, the overbite for this one specific female goat, that it was so severe.
Yeah.
Though weight-wise, genetics-wise, the looks, you know, the length, everything you were looking for, there was no foot rot. It was just a specimen. But in the moment you saw the goat, like when we checked the actual bite of that goat, we knew we had to eliminate it
That is
because
true.
yes, she would produce wonderful looking kids, but all those kids would be
Having the
genetically
same
flawed.
problem.
Because at some point when you have these goats, especially when they have eating issues, keeping weight on becomes an issue.
Very problem.
The way that they actually get to age is not going to be a pretty option. At some point, they can even get to the point where they have lockjaw. It can get very, very messy. So ultimately, you have to be vigilant and you have to look at the goats and pigs or sheep at your farm. Who's producing,
Which one
who's
is
not
it?
producing, and why they're not producing. And the ones that continuously keep underperforming, you need to call them.
Eliminate them.
You have to call them.
Yeah.
You know, identify that marker. You know, next stock, they're going
You're
to the
good
butcher.
to go.
Okay.
Wow. Talking about the market, remember guys, we've gone to these markets as well. We've done the survey, but people at the market will also tell you, they will differentiate.
They're not good for breeding. Yeah.
This one is not good for breeding. This one is for breeding. And also the prices are quite different. That's what you have to know. But you don't have to really risk yourself if you're starting a commercial breeding farm and you go to the market and buy your goats. Do not make that mistake because everyone, that is just like a dumping place for people to take all their goats that they feel like they're so tired of them. So do not make that mistake as well.
For those of you who are a bit more advanced, right? Inbreeding is not recommended for the most part, but there's a rare instance, right? Some of the most amazing bull goats you guys see from South Africa, they practice something called line breeding.
Okay.
And what that means is if you have a amazing looking boar, you might want to accentuate some of those genetic features in that specific line. This is not what we recommend, but this is what most world-renowned breeders do in South Africa and other parts of the world, where they'll actually take that one male and they would actually breed it up to the second generation with its own offsprings.
Okay.
Now, if you have again, they do it for specific genetic traits. Now, for some reason, it works for them, but we're not that brave.
To risk.
What I know, we're going to keep practicing what we're comfortable with.
Yeah, true.
That's something that we still need to research, but that's also another term, that's also another practice that exists, you know. But as far as what we practice here at Value Farm, no inbreeding of any sort. We love the king that we have. We love the emperor that we have. We don't love it enough to have a mate with his sisters.
No.
You understand? Or with his daughters.
It is really so sad.
Yeah.
But you guys can also give us your thoughts in the comments down below. What you think about line breeding and also cross breeding. What you guys do you think? Do you also practice it in your farms? Have you heard about it? Or you just, rear your goats like that? Leave your comments down below so that we can also learn from you guys, because this is a whole learning process.
Yeah. And again, I want to just circle back so you guys can be fully prepared. When you do go to the market, for every one farmer who want to offload his or her goats at the market, I would say out of every 100, maybe one or two will tell you, hey, these are just for meat. The
True.
majority of these folks will tell you, yeah, these are good for
For
breeding. You
breeding.
know, they have a problem, they just here to sell. Don't buy it, okay? So arm yourself with the best information you have. And that's, again, you have to be ready, you have to do your research, you have to be prepared, because the last thing you want to do is spend your hard-earned cash, and then 6 months later you realize, oh my gosh, I have to start all over again.
All over
And we don't
again.
want you guys to make that mistake.
That is really so true. So go to reputable farms, go and purchase your goats in big numbers than going to these markets, unless you're going for meat production, of course.
Guys, in life you get exactly what you pay for. So if you decide to go cheap, you're gonna end up paying a lot more. Because believe me, like, there are times where we get calls from you guys. Some of you love the breeds that we have, and then you guys call and ask, so how much for this particular type of goat? You want a Savannah, and they hear the price and like, oh no, that's too expensive. Yeah, there's a reason those goats cost that much money. There's a reason why a pure boar may cost you between 3 million shillings or more. As a matter of fact, some of these goats have to be imported from South Africa, from other parts of the world, right? And you have to calculate costs of freight, costs to clear, customs. All of these things have to be taken into consideration. So, you know, you will always get exactly what you pay for. And so if you know you want to get into breeding, you want breeding stock. If you want to get into meat production, then you want to get meat production stock. And I think that's pretty much it.
Wow, that is really so amazing. Thank you so much for the knowledge. Thank you so much for that piece of advice, because it's very, very, very key to all farmers out there. We really appreciate you guys for loving Value Farm. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Do not be selfish, because we have a lot that we have to offer on the channel. And of course, we are still giving you more information. We want to really make you guys better farmers, or also, you know, become like Value Farm, what we are doing here. Of course, we are not really perfect, got me right, but we are also learning from whatever we are doing, and we are here to share all our experiences. So do not fail to share these videos with your friends, because we want all of us to learn, right? Yes, till next time, bye.